So I'm actually just going to show taking down a cruise ship real quick. One of the things about the cruise ship that was made a thing is that you can shoot all their engines off and then they can't shoot at you. But something that is very worth note, if you leave one of their engines on, or all the engines on if you have a second person piloting with you, and you shoot one of their active engines, it does considerably more damage. You can usually one-shot these ships, even in the Veil. So that's just a tip. If you're going to be having someone piloting the...
He actually knows how to use a forward artillery cannon now. That's good.
Big gun on the bottom.
That's really good.
The double charges, they can actually kill even the Veil cruise ships now.
Here we go. I haven't watched a Brozime video since the last one.
Oh, right. Hello, and...
Actually, you know what? No, he made the video. We're going to watch his...
So
we're going to watch his thing.
We have a sponsor, and that sponsor is the Ridge. So the Ridge is a...
Whether or not it continues to be a thing, we'll just find out.
Metal and elastic construction. And as someone who's been using these wallets for about 2.5 years, they are absolutely fantastic, and I would not go back to any other wallet I've ever used. And I've used pretty much everything. Leather trifolds, bifolds, old janky wallets we all had as kids.
I actually just use a phone wallet, so...
This is by far the best thing I've ever used. And the reason for that is because it just carries what you need and not what you don't. You don't need to carry around 1 million receipts. You don't need to carry expired gift cards. You don't need to carry a bunch of change. This has everything you need. It has 2 nice metal plates in the center surrounding all of your cards, and that has a cash strap to carry all your cash and receipts, or a money clip if you prefer that. And that's really all there is to it. You have easy access to all your cards that you're regularly using, because you can simply push on the Ridge, if you will. You have a very easy access to all your cards.
I wonder if Ridge wallets are available in Australia.
These are super, super great wallets that I would really advise to anyone, and they come in a variety of styles. Not only the carbon fiber one, which I've been using for the longest time, but also this new forged carbon one, which looks quite nice, as well as this titanium one, which is probably my new favorite and one I'll be switching to. And, of course, because we play WarFrame here, I had to grab the nice aluminum rose gold one, which is actually the cheapest of all these wallets that I'm showing here, and is a fantastic deal in my opinion. And speaking of a fantastic deal, you can go to ridge.com/Brozime and use the promo code Brozime for 10% off any of these wallets and help support the channel. Thanks so much to the Ridge for sponsoring this video, and let's just jump in. Okay, and with thanks again to our sponsor, we can get into the Railjack Revisited Part 1 changes. So, we're going to be going over all of the changes to Railjack in this big update. Obviously, many of these are going to be the same as the things that I discussed in the major video, because a lot of those...
The hell? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. I was about to say, okay, I have a major problem with this, but no, I don't. I'm just joking.
Just make it over, as many of them were good. But there are some notable changes in here I'd like to go over, and I'd like to take this as an opportunity to kind of go over the whole Railjack system as a whole again, because I feel like it is actually worth doing so now. So, first...
Obviously, I always thought that Railjack was really good at... Well, yes. Obviously, I always thought that Railjack was worth getting into in the first place. Brozime didn't believe so in the first place. I would have expected these changes to make him feel like Railjack is now in a good enough spot that it is quote-unquote worth it. So, this doesn't really surprise me. It would have actually been more shocking if he said... Guys, the amount of... Even with these changes, Railjack is still not in a good place. Because I think Shy said that. Which is wrong, in every way, shape, and form. Like, Railjack is easy.
So foremost, let's jump into configuring the Railjack and talk about some of the major changes that have been made to these systems, starting with the components. So, we have shields, engines, and reactors. Under shields, I want to talk about the valence transfer stuff that has been...
Okay. First off, one thing I actually noticed when I went back and watched the old video, the other video, for some reason, Brozime actually had a Mark II shield. Which... I was very confused by that. It's good to see that he's now using a Mark III shield. So, yeah, good on you, Brozime. You use a Mark III shield. Zeki Shield Array Mark III is a good choice.
Added. So, I have a piece of wreckage here, and I have the equipped shield array that I currently use here. And you can see this has 412 shield capacity, 3.97 regeneration.
Wow, he hasn't actually rolled that at all. That is not even remotely close to being, like, maxed out. Shield capacity maxes out at 500. That shield regen per second, that's the big one. That shield regen per second maxes out at 6%. He's barely halfway there. You're gonna have to really roll that. You're gonna have to really valence transfer that a lot, mate, because... that, yeah, you're lacking. You're lacking.
generation delay, and then 3.7 shield regeneration per second. And those are the stats of it, plus it has its bonus stat. And then over on this, you can see these are different numbers. Because of
he's
that,
actually about to demonstrate
these
valence
are
transfer.
somewhat
Good.
randomized, and you now have the kind of lich system to valence transfer these things together to get a perfect version of these items. So if I click on this Zeki shield array and then go down here to valence fusion, I can click on this and be able to click on my wreckage. You don't have to repair the items first anymore, which is a very, very notable change from the PTS. But whenever you try and click this to fuse it, it has you go in here and choose what stat you want. So in this case, I would just want this option 1. And then it gives you a breakdown of what you're going to receive at the end. So you're upgrading this one, and this is what you're putting into it, and this is going to be the result. In this case, my item is actually going to hit its shield capacity and regeneration delay caps, but not hit the 6% shield regeneration per second cap. So I can get to multiple of the caps, and the cost for me to do that is actually going to be 40% of what it would cost to actually build this new shield array Mark III. That is honestly not bad. Based on what I've seen so far, because I've done this across actually a couple of weapons, and also my reactor is actually perfect now. It does.
It's interesting that he's calling this honestly not bad. It's interesting because when weapons had to be built and then you had to like build other weapons afterwards, technically the amount of the cost to build a weapon was only 50%, because when you scrapped a weapon back in the old days when Railjack first came out, you'd actually get 50% of those resources back. For whatever reason, a lot of people didn't seem to notice that you got 50% of those resources back. That was something that was also like mentioned in the patch notes, in the dev streams and all that stuff. So I guess if you're someone who didn't pay attention to the dev stream or the patch notes, fine. But this was something that always happened when you scrapped a weapon. You'd always get 50% back. It has since been changed to 80%. Right? Yeah, it's since been changed to 80%. Ironically enough, valence transfer is more expensive to increase the stats of your thing than it is to actually build a new thing if you happen to get a new version of a new and like just overall stronger version of your component. If you scrap that component, you get 80% of your resources back, which means you only use 20% of those resources. On the off chance, this is a very, very off chance, so this is probably a moot point, but on the off chance that you get something that is better, you should probably be scrapping it, or scrapping the old one. You probably won't get something that's ultimately better though, because of the way the drops work. So, this is still fine. But it's just interesting that he's now calling 40% fine
items in general
when
to get to a
50%
version
wasn't
of an item. In terms of my reactors, it only took 2. In terms of the Zeki shield array, I think it's going to be the highest one I need in terms of needing probably 3 of these total, because I have valence fused this once. Unless I, just wait and get a slightly better drop of this in terms of shield regeneration, then it'd probably only take me 2. But this system is quite fair from what I've seen so far.
Yeah,
basically,
I wouldn't bother with
you're
that.
You're going to be spending 100% of the original resources to repair an item, which is, as you can see here, this is what it is for this particular item. And then on top of that, you'll usually spend another 40% or 80% to get the perfect version of that item, which I think is pretty fair. And personally, whenever I suggested feedback, I only suggested it to be 50% of the repair cost, so that it would end up being 200%, whereas now it's at
50% of the repair cost. You mean like when you build something and scrap it? When you repair something and you scrap it, you get 50% back? 50% of the repair cost?
Actually 180%, which is even easier to achieve than I've done on many items. So that is very, very good. Moving on. The Vidar reactor, I just wanted to show...
I love how he skipped over the engines. I can't wait to see what he has to say about the engines.
I did actually get a perfect Vidar reactor, which is excellent, and is going to be actually very relevant whenever we talk about avionics here in a second. But before we get to that, let's talk about armaments.
Whoa! Whoa! You gotta talk about your engines, dude! Oh my god! You gotta talk about your engines, mate! Oh, Jesus Christ. Hold up, you can't just skip your engines like that! Are you kidding? Come on, man! What are you doing? Let's just quickly go back. Bloody hell. Okay. Brozime, you're using a Zkey Engines Mark III. Now, I don't know how powerful your Zkey Engines Mark III is, but it's not that good. Let's have a quick look at what the maximum... oh, screw it. Let's go to the dry dock. Holy crap. Hang on, I'm just going to skip through the video and see if he actually talks about the engine. That's weapon, that's weapon, that's weapon. Yeah, he completely ignores the engine. Right? Oh, wait. Oh, he's going to talk about the engine in a second. He's going to talk about the... I guess he's going to talk about the... Wait, is he?
Is in prior, but I do legitimately think that
Let's have a listen, real quick. I'm just skipping ahead.
In total for all 40 ranks that we can get so far, and there's...
Wait, how do you still not have full rank 10s? When you made the old video, you... no, I'll get to this in a second.
15k for the command intrinsic whenever these intrinsic use now. But I do legitimately think...
He doesn't talk about the engines. Oh my god. Buddy! If you're going to talk about your Railjack, you're going to talk about the engines, mate. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Let's just quickly go to the dry dock. Now, the reason why I've just brought this up is because I feel like he may be using the exact same engines as he did last time for the exact same reason that he did last time, which was quote-unquote, the engines gave me extra damage. Once again, I do not think that is a particularly good way to judge an engine. The engines give you extra speed. Or can give you extra speed. Depending on the engine that you are using, a Zkey engine, you're not going to get a whole lot out of it. Let's have a quick look. Do I have any Zkey engines on me? I don't even have any. I've actually scrapped all of my bollocks. Okay, well that was completely pointless. Okay, let's have a look. Railjack components. Alright, here we go. Bloody hell. Okay. Engine tier list. Zkey engines. Additional speed, maximum 40. Additional boost, maximum 30. He might have slightly more boost than I do. But he definitely doesn't have more speed than I do. I would even wager that his engines right now, I want to see what those engines are. I would wager that his engines are actually slower than mine. Or rather, I wager that his engine boost is probably slower than mine. It's 1.4, and I know for a fact he's not using ion burn. He might have the same amount of engine boost as I do. What is my engine boost? My engine boost is 1.9, but that's because I'm using ion burn. 1.4. He has the same engine boost as I do, and I'm pretty sure he's not using ion burn. From judging by what I saw when I had a brief look earlier, just to prepare myself for the amount of screaming that I might end up doing in this video, which is actually less than I expected. But buddy, you've got to actually talk about your engines, mate. Because I've been told that Brozime apparently complained that his ship was too slow. Well, of course it would be too slow if you're using a Zkey engine. It makes sense. Zkey engines are not particularly fast. So, you know.
Reactor, which is excellent and is going to be actually very relevant whenever we talk about avionics here in a second. But before we get to that, let's
One second, I'm just going to turn down my audio.
So, armaments. I kind of want to go over what I have felt to be very good here. So far, impressions on just how weapons are in general. By and large, Zkey weapons are the go-to. All the Zkey...
No, I don't think that's true. Zkey weapons are not necessarily the go-to. I've tried using the Zkey Avionics. Personally, I don't like it.
Weapons that I have messed with so far, which includes the APOC, the Avionics, and the Pulsars, have been totally serviceable, with the Avionics being the standout best and the ones that I've been using as my main guns.
Wow, that's actually surprising. I kind of expected him to say the Zkey APOC would be the best one, but judging by how he normally plays. Interesting. The reason why I don't particularly like the Zkey Avionics is just because it overheats really, really quickly. like, the heat accretion is not as high as it used to be, which is great. It used to be 20, now it's 12, so that's fine. But even then, I still prefer to use a Levan Carcinox simply because I want more of those status procs. Right now, though, if you want to use a Z-Key Carcinox, you should be okay. Because right now, enemy armor and enemy health scaling is not that high at this particular moment in time. But eventually, when Scarlet Spear shows up again, Levan Carcinox is going to be a better option.
On my Railjack in general, but all those have been totally great, and the Cryophon has been the one that just really fell behind. Whenever the...
Sorry, I would actually say that the Cryophon was always bad. Remember, keep in mind, the Cryophon is the only weapon that can't strip armor, and it is the slowest of the weapons, meaning that it's the only weapon that can't adequately deal with those healing bubbles in the Veil. Therefore, in my opinion, the Cryophon has always been terrible.
For the Z-Key heat accretion buffs happened, the Cryophon got lowered by a very minuscule amount compared to the 40 to 50% all the other Z-Key weapons got buffed, which means the other Z-Key weapons, I think, in general, are going to perform the best for all of your slots, basically. So I would really advise anyone who's looking to pick a main weapon for their Railjack to choose either the Z-Key APOC Mark IIIs or the Z-Key Carcinox Mark IIIs, which are both machine guns. They just have some different properties, with the Carcinox being way more rapid fire and having very slightly shorter range, and the APOCs having a considerably higher range but a lower rate of fire, but also...
Carcinox has a range? What the fuck? Am I going... Wait, am I going nuts? I feel like I've shot enemies from really far away using the Carcinox. Particularly enemy cruise ships. I feel like I've shot enemy cruise ships from really far away, stripped their armor, and then blow them up with a forward artillery cannon before. I wonder how much range Brozime reckons a Carcinox has. Point is, I would add the Levan Carcinox in there as a pilot weapon. Again, because of that armor stripping. Right now, it's not as important because obviously enemies don't have that much armor. Fair enough. If you want a good, decent main weapon, I actually would recommend the Z-Key APOC over a Carcinox in general, just because the APOC does more damage. And again, armor isn't really all that important at this particular moment in time. But when we start to see higher level enemy fighters who are from Scarspear, who have level 100 armor, or rather the amount of armor that a fighter would normally have at level 100, yeah, you'll want to be using a Levan Carcinox instead. The amount of armor stripping is just really good from there. You don't get as much from the Z-Key Carcinox. I've tried, wasn't really impressed.
So higher crit chance. And also worth noting, my Z-Key APOCs here are a perfect fusion. This only took 2 weapons, the first one I built, and then 1 fusion into it. So I have that plus 60% fire rate. It is highly worth noting that all weapons, so Z-Key APOC Mark III, this type of weapon will always have fire rate on it. So you can't move over something like this, where it has just like plasma damage. You can't take that effect and put it onto this weapon. This weapon will always have fire rate. So...
Wait, is that true? Huh. Hold on, what? Oh, god damn it, I should just go back here. Wait, Z-Key APOCs? Well, first off, you can't valence transfer an APOC with a Carcinox. Z-Key APOCs? Really? APOC Mark III. Okay, I guess so then. I guess the Z-Key APOC always has things. Oh no, armaments, here we go. Just have a quick look at the wiki. APOC. I don't think it says anything. He's probably right then. He's probably right about that.
Just keep that in mind whenever you are like looking at weapons, because usually, because the much higher base damage is on the Z-Key weapons, these plus damage bonuses don't usually actually matter very much. Anyway, let's talk about the other weapons on here. Side guns, I'm using the APOCs. The Carcinox and APOCs are they're totally fine for side cannons as well as main cannons, which is part of why it's totally fine to try both on the front and see what you like, because whatever else you don't like is probably just going to go on your side guns for your gunners. And then in terms of your lower armament, the Psycho Seeker Mark III has still been like what I've liked most down here, although in fairness, I don't use this a huge amount. Avionics. So, Avionics received some further buffing.
Okay, here we go. This is the real meat of the video, so here we go. Okay, so hang on. So what did he use as his side guns? Wait, did he put? Okay, he's using Zeki Kastnox as his main gun. So I actually find it kind of slightly hilarious that he's using Section Density and Predator. If you're using Zeki APOC as your main gun, then I feel like for you, if you're playing solo, it makes a lot more sense to use Section Density and Predator. Obviously, if you want to use Section Density and Predator and let your side gunners have a lot of fun with that extra critical chance, critical damage, go ahead. Makes sense to me. He's also using Polar Coil. That's a good choice. Actually, Polar Coil, okay, maybe I'm wrong here because I actually didn't use Zeki Kastnox with a Polar Coil. I actually just used Zeki Kastnox by itself. So Zeki Kastnox with a Polar Coil is actually probably, quote-unquote, very, very serviceable. Can I even, like, swap something out for? I can't really swap it out, eh? It's 9. Oh, bollocks, it's 9! I'd have to get rid of, like, forward artillery or hyperstrike or something rather for it. Nah, I wouldn't. I personally. Okay, well then that's probably the difference between me and Brozime then. I wouldn't get rid of any of these for Polar Coil, so yeah. I guess if he's using Polar Coil and Zeki Kastnox, okay, fair enough. Awesome, cool.
Update, so it is actually much easier to tell where it is at any given time, so you can line it up and kill a ton of enemies with it, usually enemies that are trapped in Void Hole. Particle Ram. Particle Ram right now does have
also, he has Void Hole now.
Flickering bug, but that doesn't affect functionality at all. It's just like very hard to look at for people that are not piloting the Railjack. So hopefully that gets patched up soon, and I really expect it will be. But outside of that, the Particle Ram did receive a buff. It does do more damage now, and that makes it extremely deadly in both Saturn and Earth, but not quite good enough to just ram through enemies in the Veil. However, this is still extremely useful for gathering resources and is the de facto thing you really.
Whoa, hold on. Particle Ram is actually really powerful in Veil because of the enemy health and armor reduction. Particle Ram, even in Roos Bloody Warfield, you can actually knock out tons of fighters, especially if you're using Void Hole. You group a bunch of enemies in Void Hole. We've done this on stream. You group a bunch of enemies in Void Hole, and you can actually throw out the Particle Ram if you want, or you can actually just move with the Particle Ram. You'll still do a lot of damage. I would argue that Particle Ram is still really, really good. You don't one-shot everything with it if you're not throwing it out. Fine. But Particle Ram still does a lot of damage in the Veil. So this is a weird statement in my opinion.
If you're going to be farming titanium on Earth, which is kind of the main strategy for getting titanium. Also, speaking of titanium, just while we're on the subject, they tripled the gains of titanium, so that previous bottleneck that we've had has been much reduced. I've not run into a titanium shortage since I started playing again, and that has been extremely, extremely nice.
How much titanium do I even have? Let's have a quick look. Ah, crap. I have a whopping 69, nice, 1,000 titanium, 70,000 titanium. I'm gonna be real here. I don't think I really ran into a titanium bottleneck after I finished the Veil. After I finished the Veil, I don't think I really came across a titanium bottleneck, and that is again because, as I keep saying, if you scrap a weapon, we can scrap a weapon. We get the titanium back. If you are hoarding weapons, then yes, you will come across a titanium bottleneck. But if you are recycling weapons, like you probably should be, then you won't really be coming across a titanium bottleneck. You weren't going to really come across a titanium bottleneck in the first place. Now you're not going to either because, like Brozime said, quite correctly, you get a lot more titanium these days, so that's really, really good.
Void Hole. Void Hole did retain its nerf, but it is still quite strong and is...
Andrew is 150,000% correct. Asteroid is the only thing that actually is that's probably concerning. How much asteroid do I have though? I have tons of asteroid though, so I'm not particularly fussed about that. Let's see, Zeki, Carsonox. That requires. No. What needs asteroid again? I can't bloody remember. Okay, I have 3k asteroid. A new shield requires about half of that. So yeah, asteroid is the thing that I think would be more concerning. Titanium? Not exactly.
What I'm generally leaning towards in terms of the third ability. However, they did go ahead and buff Seeker Volley. Seeker Volley is quite good as a tool on Saturn and on Earth. It absolutely decimates on Saturn and Earth, so if you're going to be farming there, I would suggest you equip Seeker Volley over Void Hole, actually. But it usually is going to go with the
Warhead.
Sort by Drain. With the Warhead.
Actually, that is not true anymore. I did a test, and a lot of people have been reporting this. That is actually not true anymore. So, yeah, Brozime, the whole thing I kept yelling at you about when it comes to Seeker Volley and Warhead, yeah, that's not true anymore.
Avionic, because this ordnance damage increase does affect...
It doesn't. It doesn't anymore, unfortunately.
So keep that in mind, if you're going to be using it on Saturn, that is going to make
I'm sad about this, but it actually doesn't affect it anymore.
The two Avionics equipped simultaneously, and is what I would suggest for farming on Saturn. Moving on, though, just kind of the general integrated Avionics that I'm using.
Welcome, Sandra. I have to correct him on this one. Seeker Volley is really good in Guyane Point. So any mission in the Veil up to Guyane Point, Seeker Volley is really damn strong. So let's have a look at what missions we're talking about here. I've done this on stream. I don't know, I can't remember when Brozime put out this video if Seeker Volley got fixed, quote unquote. Because I think what Brozime has forgotten is that Seeker Volley has a crit chance now. Okay. Guyane Point is level 35 to 37, so Flexor, NSU grid, yes. Okay, R9 Cloud, H2 Cloud. Oh no, Rhea, I kept getting this wrong. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. These four missions. NSU grid, which is the first one you go to. Flexor, which may very well be the second one you go to. Guyane Point, Rhea. And Ganelon's Grave. All the fighters in these missions are really susceptible to the Seeker Volley because the Seeker Volley does a lot of damage to them. Hell, even if you use Seeker Volley against enemies in Roost Warfield, they're not going to die as quickly because they're level 42 to 45, which is fine. But they are still going to die pretty quickly. 2 volleys takes out 16 fighters. That's pretty good. Or 2 volleys take out 32... Oh, no, that takes out 16 fighters. That is pretty good. But, that being said, if you are going to come across 16 fighters in something like Roost Warfield, yeah, you kind of want to be using Void Hole instead. That is true. Void Hole still remains as a really, really powerful battle avionic for large groups of enemies, especially large groups of slightly more powerful enemies, because then you can use something like Particle Ram, Shadow Burst... not countermeasures, Munitions Vortex if you really, really want to, but 1, 2, 3, 4, they get wiped out by Seeker Volley. Easy. Easy. Hell, you can even use Tether and wipe them out. It's kind of a reason why Tether is actually the sort of go-to speedrun meta at this particular point in time. But if you don't actually have Tether, because it is slightly rare, then yeah, you probably want to be using something a little bit more common, mainly because it drops from a lot more enemies and thingamajigs, like Seeker Volley. Definitely a good choice. Also interesting, he doesn't have Fiery Phoenix. That's sad. I mean, it's not something that you need, quote unquote. It's not something that I ever use, but he doesn't have Fiery Phoenix. That's a bit sad.
Bulkhead, you want to have a ton of health. Hull Weave, a ton of armor to go.
Surprising no one. He is using Bulkhead and Hull Weave.
A ton of health. Great. Hyper Strike, more turret.
Surprising no one. He's using Hyper Strike.
Must have this mod. Thankfully, it's considerably easy. Hyper Strike, more turret damage. You absolutely must have this mod. Thankfully, it's considerably...
You do not absolutely must have this mod. Specifically because right now in Railjack Revisited, because a lot of Railjack enemies are like so much easier to kill, abilities can wipe out entire teams really, really quickly. It's fascinating that right now, after Railjack Revisited, we have Brozime who says you do need high turret damage, yet here we are in a moment in time where a lot of people are also saying, well, no, turrets are kind of useless, therefore something like turret velocity is kind of useless when you have all of these abilities. So I would argue that you don't necessarily need turret damage. I will still run turret damage because I can. In fact, that might actually be the thing that I replace. No, I won't. I will still run turret damage because I can, but I guess if I start to use the Z-Key Casternox, which I might try out later on, I might actually replace Hyperstrike with Polar Coil, because I don't actually really need that turret damage. Because my abilities are just going to wipe everything out. Especially if you have Tether, that's going to wipe everything out. Especially if you had Seeker Volley, that's going to wipe everything out. Void Hole Munitions Vortex, as Brozime is using right now, that's going to wipe everything out. So you don't really need that much turret damage.
Easier to acquire now, as far as I know, with how the drop tables have changed. And then Section Density and Predator are your crit mods that are just going to go in so you do more damage. And
specifically with the Z-Key APOC that he is using. The Z-Key Casternox has jack all when it comes to crit damage and crit chat. Well, no, it has, I think it has a normal amount of crit chat damage. Let's have a quick look. Z-Key Casternox. Okay. Z-Key Casternox has a general crit multiplier, 13% crit chance. Would you really want to use Section Density Predator when you have 13% crit chance? Probably not. This is good for his Z-Key APOC Mark III, and that's about it.
Polar Coil, which is going to make it so that your turrets build up even less heat than usual, and this is going to make it so you can have continuous fire for extended periods of time, and that's fantastic.
Real quick, Wise. Predator, Section Density, they're not battle avionics. You're talking about integrated avionics. Have the avionics drop increased since the revisited update? I don't know. And as someone who actually has Section Density Predator now, I'm going to be real here, I don't really care, because I already have it. But look at it this way, I haven't actually noticed it pop up. I can't even remember, like, who drops it. Who and what drops it. WarFrame doc. Okay, let me just have a quick look at who's supposed to drop it. To see if I've even been fighting against the right... Oh! No, I have noticed them drop from Saturn, I think. Section Density. Gyre Flak. Cosma Outrider. Oh, well, no wonder I don't see them, because they're only spawned from Earth and bloody Saturn. I have noticed it in Saturn. So... that's not helpful at all, is it? Predator, Cosma, Elite Cosma Tactus, Gyre Tactus. Okay. I don't know if the drop rate has increased per se, but I have noticed at least one of them from Saturn, if that helps. Maybe try playing in Saturn, because I know for a fact that I haven't seen them at all when I was playing in the Veil, which I normally do. So because I normally play in the Veil, I have no chance of getting them, because they don't drop in the Veil. Okay.
These 6 avionics, I would say, are basically absolutely required.
No.
At all times, and I don't think there's any room to remove any of these 6. These are must includes.
If you're not using a Z-Key APOC Mark III, number 1, get rid of yours. Oh, if you're not using a Z-Key APOC Mark III, if you're not using a Z-Key Cryophon Mark III, there's a couple of others actually. Anyone, I guess any of the APOCs will do, but ask yourself, would you really use Section Density Predator on 20% crit chance? Because Section Density crit, here's the thing, Section Density and Thingamajig, they don't actually give a lot. Section Density is increased turret critical damage by 78.4%. Vital Sense is 120% on primary weapons. Predator increased all turret critical chance by 80%. Point Strike is 150% on primary weapons. So ask yourself this: would you really use like theoretically worse crit mods, if you really want to call it that? Would you really want to use worse crit mods on weapons that have 20% crit chance? I wouldn't. I wouldn't even use Point Strike Vital Sense on 20% crit chance primary weapons. I wouldn't even do that, TBH. Unless there's a... Yeah, well, no, sorry. It brings it from 20% to 50%. Depends on the weapon, I guess. But I wouldn't really do it on like a bow. So I definitely wouldn't do it on a Cryophon. So let's have a quick look at the Cryophons. Okay. On the Carcinoxes, it's even worse. 13, 13, 19, 13. I would not use Section Density or Predator on either of these. Cryophon. There is a... 20, 20, 20, 28, 20. You could make an argument to use Section Density Predator on Vidar Cryophon. Sure. You know? But it's only going to get it up to 50% on a freaking Cryophon. Who cares? Photors. 12, 12, 17, 18. No, I wouldn't use those mods either. Pulsar. 17, 17, 24, 17. You can make it on a... yeah, you can make an argument for the Vidar Pulsar. Sure. But... That's it! That's it! Vidar, Zetki, Apox. None of the... I wouldn't use it on any of the Carcinoxes. Cryophon, Vidar Cryophon. I definitely wouldn't use it on all Photors. And Vidar Pulsar. Maybe. Maybe. Because they are still worse than, like, Point Strike Vital Sense. So... I do not agree with this statement one bit.
Yeah. With that, though, I am using Conic Nozzle, which just increases my speed.
Holy crap, he's using a speed avionic. But he's only using a Zetki engine. Why? Why do that? Here's the big question. Here's the big question. See, this is why I need to know what his engine is at the moment, because I feel like let's have a quick look here. We can actually figure out what speed he has. Well, no, or rather, I know for a fact what boost multiplier he has. He has a 0.15 boost multiplier. So yeah, he has a 0.15 boost multiplier. So that's high, isn't it? Crap. Here we go. Components. Here we go. Engine. Oh no, he has half. He has middle of the road. I'd probably say he has middle of the road speed as well. Based on that, he's not getting a whole lot out of this. He's not really getting a whole lot out of this. I have no idea how to install mods and stuff. If since you're brand new to the game, you probably don't have that many mods to begin with. You need to complete the first quest in order to basically unlock every module inside your ship. So you is Arsenal part of it? I can't remember. No, you get the Arsenal at the start, don't you? I don't remember. If you want to install mods, you basically go to the Arsenal, which is like right in the middle of the ship. There's a thing there. You can actually press X usually, or whatever button you need to press, and that will then open up the Arsenal to then install mods where it says upgrade. Okay, so anyway, like I said, it's good that he's using a Zetki. Oh, sorry, it's good that he's using a Conic Nozzle, but is he getting a lot out of it? I don't think so.
A bit. This might get dropped once I get a better engine, or it might just become more important.
Oh, good. He actually recognizes that his engine's shit. When he gets an engine.
Important once I get a better engine.
I'm curious to see what engine he chooses. If he chooses Vidar or Levan, that is going to be the big question in my opinion, because I have made the comparison between Vidar and Levan. Right now, Vidar engines appear to be a lot better for long-range travel, which is probably something you're going to be doing a whole lot more if you're not playing just purely guy and point. Whereas Levan engines is probably going to be better for short-range travel, i.e. when you're boosting because of that high boost. So that's a little bit easier to calculate. Either way, it's interesting. I'll be interested to see which one he chooses, or which one he has chosen in the 3 weeks since this video has come out.
Haven't seen that yet because my engine at current is a little poor. And then I'm using hyperflux for...
Wait, what?
Haven't seen that yet because my engine at current is a little poor.
What?
Once I get a better engine. Haven't seen that yet because my engine at current is a little poor. And then...
What did he say? My engine at current... What? Anyway, I have no idea what he just said.
I'm using hyperflux for just more flux energy. This just allows me to, at the beginning of a mission, have a very high flux energy payload, so I can use my abilities pretty freely throughout the mission, and then just recharge it at the end of the mission.
Yep, this is
Not
good.
vital.
Wait, 796? What the hell? Wait, what? 796? Flux capacity. Height? Oh, I've never connected the dots. This is a bug. See how this says 796, but this says 792? My flux capacity is actually 792, but for whatever reason, the flux energy here, it caps at 796. Fascinating. I've never noticed this before. Huh. Interesting. Used to use the crit mods, but recently had a quick rethink and figured it. Yeah, waste of time. Depends on the weapon you're using, but otherwise, probably a waste of time. Moving on.
Or it might just become more important once I get a better engine. Haven't seen that yet because my engine at the beginning of a mission, and then just recharge it at the end of the mission. Not vital, but is very nice and convenient, especially if you're going to be spamming Seeker Volley on one of the lower level missions.
Or Gaian Point or lower.
And then in here, this is just kind of a filler mod because I'm actually missing one of the avionics that I really want to try, which is the avionic that increases your speed by a great amount whenever you are not near enemies. But for now...
Oh, okay, interesting. So, Brozime is pretty keen to try out, or at the time at least, Brozime was pretty keen to try out... Fuck, what's it called? I have it, friggin'... cruising speed. Cruising speed. At the time of his recording, cruising speed was actually broken. It didn't work. Am I covering it? Okay. At the time of the recording, cruising speed was broken. It didn't work. As of right now, cruising speed works. I still maintain that cruising speed somehow keeps going despite the fact that there are enemies near me because I don't notice a difference. But assuming it is working as intended, it's pretty good. I am a little bit disappointed though that he doesn't have any artillery avionics. So just keep in mind we're currently watching a ship that has no forward artillery, no artillery cheap shot. Let's see how he goes against cruise ships.
Just using ordnance cheap shot, which just gives me like a 50% chance to not consume munitions whenever I fire my Q, which is just the homing rocket. Then in terms of tacticals, I'm actually able to fit a couple tacticals here. I have an unranked fire suppression, which just puts out one fire. This costs like a small enough amount that I just threw it in here because it seems like it'll be convenient in some cases. Very much not needed at all. And then I have...
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, he'll get rid of it.
I have Death Blossom here. So Death Blossom, I have used very, very sparingly, as in most cases at this point it is not required because the heat accretion has been lowered a significant amount to be manageable just on your own. But it still seemed like it deserved a slot down here while I have the points for it. If I find something that is more useful that I'd like to slot instead, like something more expensive than Ordnance Cheap Shot here, I will probably remove this, but it is definitely a good tactical to shoot for as far as I have seen.
When Brozime comes up with, when Brozime eventually gets cruising speed, that's going to go from, that particular slot right there is going to go from 3 to 8. So that's a -5. He'll get rid of fire suppression because fire suppression is actually pretty useless at this particular moment in time because of the changes to hazards. So he'll have an additional 4 to go to 8. So that's a +3. At that particular moment in time, I would probably say that Brozime needs to use something like flow burn, otherwise his ship is just going to be way too slow. If I were ever piloting a ship like this, I would fall asleep. I'm just going to say it right now. Looking at the way that this ship has been made at this particular moment in time, even with cruising speed, because the engine is so bad, I would fall asleep. Flow burn might at least keep me awake, but this is not a ship that I would run personally. Okay.
So that is pretty much what's going on with the avionics. I think these are like considerably easier to acquire now. Things are a lot easier to understand now because there are very, very few versions of the different avionics now.
There are almost no versions, actually.
So we only have like the one bulkhead, and we only have like, we have the one hyper, or rather we have the two. The hyperstrike is one that we have two of because this is one of the starter avionics. The only two different types of avionics we have now are the starter basic ones that only have one rank, and then you have the full power ones. There are no other versions anymore. There's not like
basically they work like mods now.
Every single avionic now, they've condensed that down to be much more understandable. So if you get a hull weave, it is...
Oh my god. We're only 13 minutes in, and I've been ranting and raving for at least 20.
Going to be the hull weave you're looking for. I found that to be a great improvement. Moving on. In terms of payload, there's a forge all button for anyone that wasn't informed. This is extremely useful. I do wish there was a setting here where after every single mission, this forge all would just happen, because I think the investment in terms of resources is low enough that you should just enter every mission with all this stuff remax, because there's really no reason not to. Or maybe
1,000% agreed.
Kind of cap where like it only happens whenever you're at like 999s or some kind of thing to make it so that it's always filling this stuff up for you would be much appreciated. And then besides that, let's talk about intrinsics. So as you can see, I actually have, for anyone who remembers that I was at 10,999, I actually have farmed up a full another 10 intrinsic plus about 100 other intrinsics.
Wait, I thought it was 9s all the way last time. Anyway,
intrinsic.
The fact that as of his recording, him being 10,999 allegedly, he was way ahead than me. And at the time of recording, I think he was like, he's slightly ahead of me now. At the time of recording. Oof. At the time, oof.
Rates were doubled, which is up.
I had 10,8,8,10 at the time of recording. This is right after Scarspear. I had 10,8,8,10. Someone hasn't been playing Scarspear.
Big help. And based on my testing on the PTS,
or at least the space part of Scarspear,
it actually feels like they were increased maybe a little bit more, which has felt really nice overall.
No, they're easy enough as is.
Because for those that don't know, each of these trees from 0 to 10 contains 15,000 MR. So there's 60k MR here in total for all 40 ranks that we can get so far, and there's going to be another 15k for the command intrinsic whenever that comes out. But yeah, this has actually been not a bad experience getting these intrinsics, and that is because the Railjack is fun to use now. And
the Railjack has always been fun to use.
That's a wild thing to say considering the state it was in prior, but I do legitimately think that Railjack is actually worth playing.
But I'm glad he's finally enjoying himself. It's good that he is finally enjoying himself.
Fighter. And on top of that, it's more active with being able to give you the rewards out of the mode. And what I mean by that, I'll get into whenever we go over the missions here in a moment. So from the missions, a few things.
Hotfix? What hotfix? There's supposed to be not hot. There's supposed to not be a hotfix for the next however long until Deadlock Protocol comes out. I might actually have to split this video reaction into two because it's like 12:30 in the morning, and I'd like to go to sleep. So maybe I will continue tomorrow when I stream. But let's just keep going for a bit more.
Things to note. Starting off with a Railjack that has nothing on it. Starting off on Earth, where you start from the posit cluster, guns feel fine. Feels good. Feels absolutely reasonable to play. I think it's even totally reasonable that you could solo stuff. So that is...
You really should not be soloing Railjack at the start. You really should not be soloing Railjack at the start, really. But... And what?
Fantastic, because the beginning stuff feels good and not like you should just jump out and start using your Arcwing. Great success on GE's part from...
That being said, though, I think the Arcwing damage nerf has been removed. When that patch note came in that said Arcwing damage has been normalized, quote-unquote, I feel like what has happened is that Arcwing damage has the arc wing damage nerf has therefore been removed. Using your arc wing is also a good idea.
There, though, there is a slight skip and a jump in terms of going from Earth to Saturn to the Veil. I still think the optimal strategy for anyone who wants to get their Railjack built up is to completely skip Mark 1 weapons and Mark 2 weapons, which drop on Earth and Saturn, of course, and to just join someone else in the Veil to get some Mark 3 weapon and component drops, and just try and build those, and do not even bother with trying to build the Mark 1 or Mark 2 items. Because it's just not that much more resources to build the Mark 3s, and those are the ones that you're going to be sticking with for the foreseeable future. So I think that is just a smarter investment of your time.
Grapple? What's this about a grapple?
As it stands at current.
Okay. If you can't find anyone to join you, I'd still say just go through Earth, make a Mark 1, who cares? You're only investing 20% of those resources anyway. It's not like it's going to be a giant investment to begin with. So I wouldn't say like, oh no, I'm new to Railjack, I have to join someone in the Veil in order to get anything done. No. And also keep in mind that if you are joining someone in the Veil when you're completely fresh and new, you probably are going to have a really hard time contributing anything. You don't want to touch the engineering bay, number one, because you being a new player are just going to be way less efficient than literally anyone else on the ship. And you being new to the game, you probably don't want to touch a whole lot of things you want to touch a lot of things, but you know, you might not know what to do. So things, well, first off, you can't really touch the forward artillery cannon, but yeah, you know, you're just gonna have a hard time anyway. Whatever.
Also, worth noting, a couple of farming spots here.
Oh, you're talking about
we have the Posit
Cluster.
Cluster. This is where I go to farm titanium because it is the lowest level thing, and you just like clear it super fast, and then you just fly around and collect all the titanium. This node is very good for that. And then worth noting.
Wait, hold on. Posit Cluster. Does Posit Cluster have an objective? I actually don't know. I know for a fact that Ryan Belt doesn't have an objective. Strangely enough, that was actually the spot that I went to and got cruising speed on my first go when I went to that particular mission. I did Corms Belt so many times, didn't get a bloody thing. I haven't been to Posit Cluster since the start for obvious reasons, but I actually don't remember if Posit Cluster has it. I guess it doesn't since it's the first bloody mission. You can't really have lol. Boom. Oh, no, let's get rid of them. Wait, what? Oh, they fixed... No, they didn't. Hit our engines. Oh, no, I don't want to get rid of them then. I'm confused. The fuck? Oh, get rid of that. Wait, does Posit Cluster not have an objective? I thought it... Hang on, let me check. Maybe it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Okay, cool beans. Moving on. So, I assume then Posit Cluster, Sova Strait, Ryan Belt... Maybe some of these ones don't have it either. But then moving on, you're probably like going to just spend a lot more time doing the missions that actually do have objectives, in order to get those things. So farming wise, you really want to go for a mission that doesn't have objectives, because objectives is just really just a thing. Any rare mods? Yeah, on Earth, specifically, you can get cruising speed, which is sort of rare, in the sense that it did take me quite a while to eventually get it. Quite a number of runs in order to actually get it.
Corms Belt, this is always going to spawn one of the big ships that you can invade to get some of those weapon blueprints that are available in Railjack. So that is notable here.
Specifically the pennant. If you're interested in getting the pennant, you want to go to like Corm's Belt or Cassio. No, not Cassio's Rest. Corm's Belt Flexor usually has a 2 in the Vale.
And then moving on to Saturn. The only thing that's really notable on Saturn is that Cassio's Rest is similar to Corm's Belt in that that is going to give you the big asteroid base to invade.
No, that's true too, yeah.
There. And then in the Vale, one of the big notes here is that the anomaly, which you can see flashing here, is now always available, which is a huge improvement over its sporadic availability from before. It just rotates from point to point every half an hour now, which is fantastic. I have been doing most of my gameplay on the Ruse Warfield just because this is the highest level and I wanted to see how things perform. But yeah, good stuff all around here in terms.
I tend to do a lot of my gameplay on Gaia Point, not because things need to be easy or anything, obviously not, but just because most people are going to be farming in Gaia Point in the Vale because there's no objective in Gaia Point usually. When there's an anomaly, then yeah, there's an objective. But when there's no anomaly, Gaia Point is just a very simple destroy everything mission. So you want to do a lot of your... I tend to find that doing resource farming at Gaia Point is obviously the fastest way to do it because there's no objective. So that's why I do all of my gameplay there. Just keeps it nice and simple. But at the same time, if we want to test something at RWF, hell yeah, man, let's do it.
Of like actually being able to get to the anomaly and go and do those things and like farm the anomaly for the shards and then get the rewards from the shards by trading those into Little Duck. That stuff has actually all been very fun.
At some point, I think D needs to introduce something that Little Duck can just constantly give you for those shards, because I've actually gotten everything from Little Duck at the moment. So I could always go for some more Kuva. So if LD started selling Kuva for those shards, hell yeah, man, I'm up for that. Or I don't know, something else. I don't know. Maybe something that costs 100 of those shards and it's like a friggin' Umbra former. I don't know. What do you reckon LD should sell in her shop for those of us who already have everything else in her extra stuff shop?
Now, moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about Arcwing, because Arcwing has been significantly improved, and we're just going to talk very briefly about it. So, first...
Hold on, Arcwing has definitely been significantly improved, assuming, I think what's happened is that the 95% damage reduction is gone. Is Gaia Point or any of the Veil good for it? Gaia Point specifically is, I think, the most efficient way of farming intrinsic, specifically because there's no objective. That being said, if you're really good at killing everything in the objective really, really quickly, Ruse Warfield is probably more efficient because everything's of a higher level.
Foremost, the Amisha is still absolutely what you want to use. I think this may change, but I honestly, hopefully not. Whenever they like break apart all the Arcwings and then turn them into kind of like modular bits. I don't know what's going to happen when that stuff comes out. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, the Amisha is still the King Wing. None of the other Arcwings offer anything of value over what the Amisha offers. And honestly, none of the...
It's sad because I run Odonata. Every time I fly around in Railjack as Odonata, I cry.
Pretty much completely lackluster. Outside of, I guess, maybe the Odonata's one, but even that's kind of a stretch.
No, the Odonata's one is terrible too.
Still the absolute king on the block. Besides that, we have the Velocitus and the Imperator Vandal. So this is what I've been using on the Velocitus. This build feels actually really, really good in space. This is one-shotting fighters. It feels like a real-ass gun to just take enemies down. The hip fire is totally fine for killing enemies. It just feels solid, which is wild considering arc guns were in a very poor place before. I will say in
95% damage reduction.
Completely away from what initially was just like status, used only status, and moved into crits being what's important from your arc guns. So if you're still on like status heavy train, I would highly encourage you to try crits, as they seem to be working much, much better. And the two weapons that I found to be quite good for that are the Imperator Vandal and the Velocitus.
Wait, Imperator Vandal with a crit build? Okay, I'll bite. What do I have? Imperator Vandal with a pace of crap build, definitely. Oh, look at all of this crap. anyone who uses arc guns regularly will just look at this build and be like, oh man, this is some cringe. Anyway, when it comes to Railjack, I'll just stick to using the Railjack. Cheers, mate. My Railjack will do all of the damage for me. I don't really need my arc wing. Which is, hang on, sorry, which is weird because when Railjack first came out, when the idea of Railjack first came out, I was like, oh hell yeah, man, I want to be the Gundam pilot. And to be the Gundam pilot, that actually means you want to be the Arcwing pilot. But now here I am, I'm the captain. I'm not the Gundam pilot. I have no interest in being the Gundam pilot. I have every interest in being the captain. Funny how things change.
And then besides that, arc melee, I'm still in the process of forming arc melees out and like trying them. But in general, the tracking is okay, but I really wouldn't bother to use them over using just my arc guns in general. So with that, that is kind of what's up with Railjack. We are going to go over a few other things, I think, but we're going to cut to some gameplay so you can just kind of see me playing it out.
Here we go.
And we'll talk about some more things over that. So
Time to criticize his gameplay. Let's get ready.
All right, so for this part of the video, we're just going to roll GN point solo, just because I want to show kind of some of the damage.
Okay. GN point or Gaian point? I might have to put up a poll on this. GN point, Gaian point. Which one is correct? Am I pulling a Kakanox again? Like, am I just massively, have I been, pronouncing it wrong the entire time again? Hey, hey, hey.
Damage model changes in, like, basically just depth, as it were. So you guys can get a feel for what you can expect for a fully maxed out Railjack in terms of its damage output. And I'll also do probably a little bit of Arcwing here so you can see how that is performing. And I'm going to be using the Velocitus and the Amisha for that. On our main guns here, we have the Carsonox. And I'm using Void Hole and Munitions Vortex, which have been performing quite well. Also, we are going to turn on the Particle Ram, even though it's not going to make much of a combat difference here.
Particle Ram always makes a huge... Particle Ram always makes a huge difference, in my opinion.
In terms of main guns, I think you'll see that they perform quite a bit better than they did prior. And even on the PCR, I would say this is slightly above where it was.
Just remember,
they didn't really say they were making any like further
that
obvious changes,
Predator section density is being used here.
How damage was going to be dealt, but I think it's pretty clear just from feel to me that between this and the APOC, which I did use on the PTS, there are some pretty significant further changes that they've made just because the kill times just feel even better than the PTS did. That could just be due to my aim being slightly better because I've been playing more Railjack than usual since the PTS. But I would say that it just
I'll be the judge of that.
Better overall. In terms of boosting around, your base boost speed was decreased, but boost sliding, which is what you're going to be seeing me do to get around most times whenever I need to maneuver.
Hold on. Your base boost speed was... Wait, your base boost speed? No, never mind. That's boost speed.
Was not really affected. Boost sliding is still very, very fast, so it makes the piloting intrinsic actually quite a bit more valuable to have. So if you have that, you're not really going to notice.
Wait, did he just use... Oh,
there?
okay, he's finally used his Void Hole. I was about to say, like, at this point, he should have used his Void Hole, like, ages ago.
Get rid of all of them.
Okay, so here's the thing. If he actually just moved forward, because he has his Particle Ram, if he actually just moved forward, he would have actually blown everything up with his Particle Ram pretty easily.
Area Void Hole does last less time, but because the change to Munitions Vortex did not go through, it has actually plenty of time to clear out those full vortexes. And as you can see, we're actually over halfway through the fighters at this point. So I'm actually just going to show taking down a cruise ship real quick. One of the things about the cruise ship that was made a thing is that you can shoot all their engines off and then they can't shoot at you. But something that is very worth note, if you leave one of their engines on, or all the engines on if you have a second person piloting with you, and you shoot one of their active engines, it does considerably more damage. You can usually one-shot these ships even in the Veil. So that's just a tip. If you're going to be having someone piloting the
He actually knows how to use a forward artillery cannon now. That's good.
big gun on the bottom,
That's really
for the dome
good.
charges, they can actually kill even the Veil cruise ships now. You just have to actually hit like a critical shot on their engines while they are still on, so you can't fully disable the ships in order to get those instant kills, which I think is fine in terms of it being more valuable.
There's actually I'm gonna be real here. There's no real reason to disable the ship engines. You can spend a lot of time disabling the ship engines, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. If anything, if shooting a dead engine doesn't do anything, you may have accidentally made things a lot more difficult. Just shoot the engine with the forward artillery. Who the hell cares? Especially if you're using a ship like this, where you have bulkhead hull weave, then suddenly even range doesn't matter because you're just going to tank through all of that cruise ship damage. Cool. Just shoot the engine with the forward artillery. This is actually redundant.
Together with someone as opposed to fully disabling the ship and then pelting it with a few dome charges to get rid of it. But yeah.
Whoa! What the hell just happened there? Let's have a look at what he shot at. He shot at an outrider.
A few dome charges to get rid of it.
What the hell?
He?
What the hell was that? Oh, he just brute force through that outrider.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Wow, he really brute forced through that outrider. Normally, again, you see these blinking red you see these blinking red lights right here? Those are its weak spots. I'm not sure if Brozime knows this yet. Even now, those are its weak spots. I'm actually surprised that the Zeki Avionics, with Predator, with section density, with Hyper Strike, I'm surprised that actually managed to just straight up brute force through the outrider anyway, to the point where I guess you don't even need to care. But just so that everyone knows, those are its weak spots, and yeah. I mean, it's either that or use a Tycho Seeker.
Cruise ship here, which is boosting around it and such with the new mobility stuff. And I want to just say again that I actually don't have like what would be considered probably like the optimal engines for this. There is a much faster engine that I could get, and the Zeki one I think is actually the slowest of the ones I could get, but it's just the only one I have for right now.
Correct.
There we go. That one's down.
There's no real point in shooting down. Hang on. What we're seeing here is Brozime is shooting down 2 of the 3 engines. I'm pretty sure the idea is if you shoot down all 3 engines, then the ship doesn't shoot you. So shooting down 2 of the 3 engines serves no purpose. Especially at Gaian Point. If you're going to aim at the engines anyway with your forward artillery, then shooting 2 of the 3 engines serves no purpose.
Jump out and do some.
Yo, dude, your ship's on fire. Which, by the way, at the time of recording, did nothing. Now it actually does something. So, cool.
Get rid of that fire first, and then we're gonna show some Arcwing stuff. So, Velocitus, it fucks. I just want to put that out there, just right off the bat. The Velocitus kind of fucks. It's really nice feeling to be able just to just pop a shot at these fighters.
Well, if you can actually hit the damn thing.
Die as long as you can hit them. Unfortunately, I'm making bad work of that right now. But it is.
Yeah, well, he's probably better than me using the Velocitus because I've never used it.
You can see the hip fire is also not bad. Well, the Outrider is a little bit tough.
Of course, the Outriders are tough. Again, they have weak spots.
The health of these regular fighters, which I find to be more than fine.
Although evidently your weapons are just. Although evidently, like I guess all of their armor and health have been nerfed to the point where you can just brute force them anyway.
Fully zoomed in, and this is without using
So
the Amesh
nobody
slow,
cares.
which if you're using the Amesh slow,
That's what happens.
Considerably.
People don't realize that there are weak spots, and suddenly you can just like trivialize them anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so arc guns can like actually do work now. You can build an arc gun that does respectable damage against these Veil fighters, which is honestly just fantastic. The Velocitus performs similarly, but just if you want like a machine gun feel, I was quite happy with that whenever I was messing with it. And like it's
I think he made Imperative Vandal.
Stuff kind of all the way around, honestly. So anyway, we're gonna jump back in.
His ship is getting blown up by the cruise ship, by the way. So that's kind of what happens when you don't have a pilot in there.
Railjack is doing a little bit of a hurt. Just gonna put out one of those.
What we're seeing as well is because Brozime at the time did not have level 10 engineering, he can't just jump into his tactical menu and just put out the fires by himself. Unfortunate. I'm assuming by now he has level 10 engineering. I hope. Because that's really damn useful.
We have a little electrical thing down here. Also, one of the things worth noting between these like fires and electrical stuff and these breaches, you can actually only have one of each different kind now, so it's much more manageable. You're not going to have like a bajillion breaches all over your ship now. You're not going to feel like you're flying a paper airplane anymore. And those breaches...
Again, if you were getting overwhelmed by fires of all things, fire suppression existed. Fires and breaches were never a problem.
Have been made less.
Okay, fine. Maybe having like 5 breaches might have been a problem, but that almost never happened. Your ship would literally have to be like sort of sitting there with no pilot for a good solid 2 minutes in order to get that many breaches. Or your pilot would have to be really bad at the game in order to get that many breaches. I don't know what people kept saying. Why people kept saying it wasn't manageable when there was like a tactical avionics that got rid of all of your fires just like that, and then B, I don't know, 2 breaches, 3 breaches. So
frequent, as well as boarding parties having been made less frequent. So it's actually much more viable as long as your Railjack is maxed out to be able to solo these missions, which is very nice.
It was always viable.
Especially because like the combination of Void Hole and Munitions Vortex is still quite good. Okay, one with shields on him.
Okay, use a Tycho Seeker, mate. Currently he has 31 of 31 Tycho Seekers. He hasn't used a single one. You gotta use them, mate. The Tycho Seeker is really effective at destroying the shield generators of a Skald cruise ship. I haven't actually shot at a Skald cruise ship's shield generators since they first came out. Since the day they first came out. When I first found out that one Tycho Seeker, especially with Warhead, knocked out all of the shield generators, that's when I stopped shooting at them. That's actually when I just stopped shooting at them. I haven't shot at them since. Use the Tycho Seeker. It's really good. On the plus side, he's not doing a Rahatelius and actually shooting the ship with a forward artillery cannon before the shields are broken, so +1 for him. And then he shoots 2 of the 3 engines, which serves what purpose exactly?
Yeah, the increased maneuverability has been extremely nice, though.
I mean, it's not like the cruise ship is not still shooting at you. What purpose does that serve?
Not sure if I can do it at this
This
angle.
makes this. It's gonna hit the. Oh, it didn't hit the cloud. Okay, fair enough. What purpose did that serve?
Do a repair here. Maybe not.
Has he Wait, does Brozime not know about the ship warping thing? Buddy,
We're just a wee bit damaged.
how
Not a
much?
big deal.
Wait, what are you doing?
If any large breaches and stuff come up, we have the stuff to repair them.
What the hell was he doing? Wait, does Brozime not know that you can warp around the ship using a tactical
basically, I'm just gonna save you guys
menu?
the trouble of like rolling out the rest of this mission. It's just the cruise ships left. I think you guys have a pretty good idea of how Railjack is performing now. Obviously, with the larger crew, it would be very easy for someone just to Arcwing over to these other ships and stuff.
Okay, let me just quickly demonstrate what I'm talking about. I'm surprised he doesn't know about this. I'm surprised he doesn't know about this. You see how throughout the video, Brozime has actually been running back and forth inside his ship, spending a lot of time running back and forth, running back and forth. Obviously, if you're not warping around your ship, you will probably find multiple breaches, multiple fires, a lot more harder to manage. And that makes sense, because you're spending more time running to the back and front of your ship. Let's say you're at the pilot seat, and you have a fire in the back, a fire in the middle of the ship. So what are you doing? You're piloting, you have a look at your map, right? He knows the tactical menu exists, right? He knows? Well, can he demonstrate this in this goddamn video? Like, this happens all the time. So he knows, right? But he's not doing it. Instead, now he's running off like this to the middle of the ship, right? He's going to go here. Let's say there's a fire. He's going to do that. Woohoo. Then he's going to run all the way to the back of his ship. Is that what he's demonstrating in his video? To like go woohoo like that. When I could just do this. Boom. 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 I mean, I never found those fires and breaches to be that hard to manage. So, I don't know. Is that what's happened? A combination of people who don't understand that the tactical menu allowed you to jump between your ship, and a combination of people who didn't know that fire suppression existed? Is that what's going on? If he knows, I'm not seeing it. Because I feel like that would be the first thing you'd use.
And just take them out, just, you know, the regular way. I will say, as like going solo, if you just destroy all the engines, because they can no longer fight back when you do that, because it disables their weapon systems, it is very easy to use the Railjack to take out their engines and then simply fly over.
Or you could just shoot it with the forward artillery.
Jump on. Also, as a bonus, whenever you destroy the engines, it also kills half of the available crew. So whenever you jump on here after that, there's going to be way fewer enemies for you to encounter on the ship proper, which is also, of course, helping with your ability to solo these missions.
If you're looking to just board cruise ships, then yes, this is actually very useful. There are many times where I board a cruise ship and I'm like, oh my god, there's so many enemies. And more importantly, there's so many of those enemies that have that cold gun that just kills you instantly. Like, yeesh.
So these missions are quite soloable now, although I will say they are actually very much more enjoyable with a group, whenever people can like actually divide their attention and do multiple things and take out multiple crews.
Sorry, I gotta replay what he just said.
So these missions are quite soloable now.
These missions are quite soloable now. Because they're baby easy mode. Oh, whoops.
Very much more enjoyable with a group, whenever people can like actually divide their attention and do multiple things and take out multiple cruise ships. And like the Railjack can be like mainly fighting large swarms, and the
Does Brozime not know about tactical warp?
Enemies. It actually all comes together in a way that's really satisfying and honestly not what you'd expect from Railjack, given
I'm assuming he does
up until this point.
Because
really nice that it is just kind of a thing now. Like, it's a real game mode, and the boosted credit rewards
recall warp,
don't harm either, as a way to get a
Does Brozime not know about recall warp?
Credits, albeit
why did he just manually walk out of the ship?
Nothing.
The only time I ever manually walk out of the ship like that is to just jump to another cruise ship.
That's kind of the Railjack Revisited, or at least the important bits right now. It's really nice. I can't wait for them to do the part 2, which appears to be a thing that's going to be going over the intrinsics and such. I'm really excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that too, actually.
Itself is one of the main places that there could...
Oh, sorry, I skipped over that.
As, like, the actual intrinsic tree itself is one of the main places that there could still be, I think, lots of improvement.
Yeah, I also made an entire video about that, so go check that out. Wow, I'm such a shill.
But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I will see you guys later. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video. I will see y'all tomorrow.
Okay, basically final thoughts. There's still things that have been done in this video. There's still gameplay decisions that have been made in this video that just make me wonder if he still knows about some things. Recall warp. I mean, he just walked out of a cruise ship. When was the last time you walked out of a cruise ship when you already had recall warp? Last time I did that was when I walked out of a cruise ship to go and board another cruise ship that just happened to be nearby. because I knew for a fact that there were like 2 cruise ships right next to each other. So I made the decision to warp into, slingshot into one of them, destroy the engine, then walk out of that cruise ship, go in Arcwing, drop into the other one, destroy the engine, and then recall warp the hell out of there. Otherwise, when there's just one cruise ship by its own damn self, maybe he likes to walk. But it's just those things where it's just like, it gives me pause. Do you know that recall warp existed? You just use it by activating your Omni tool when you're outside of your Railjack. Boom. You can also recall warp when you're in your Arcwing as well. This is just something that I have been using all the damn time. And I don't know. Anyway, that's enough. I think overall, here's the thing. Overall, what we have seen is a much more improved awareness of Railjack in this video. There are a lot of things that I've seen in this video that I think are good. So that's so for example, actually talking about non-Cryphon weapons, I think that's a good sign of someone who knows what they're talking about when it comes to Railjack, although didn't really give the reasons that I would give, but oh well, whatever, who cares. Actually having more than just the basic ass battle avionics, particle ram, sea volley, which are good, they're good battle avionics, but when you only had just those 2 battle avionics, probably too early to talk about anything. Actually having Mark III everything for a change, that's good, because apparently he had a Mark II shield before, so that's kind of hilarious. There are just things in this video that I think are much more, that just show more awareness. That's basically all I have to say. But at the same time, there are still things that just make me think, really? Really? Here's the thing. Just real quick, the one thing that I don't understand why he kept doing this was shooting 2 engines of a cruise ship, leaving the 3rd one still active, and then blowing up the cruise ship by shooting the 3rd one with a forward artillery. When the forward artillery against an engine actually overkills every cruise ship in the Vale, like, in an insane amount without forward artillery, you don't need to shoot the other 2 engines. Shooting the other 2 engines does have an added benefit of reducing the health of the cruise ship. So you could make the argument that I want to shoot the engines of the cruise ship, 2 of them, to reduce the health of that cruise ship to a level so that I can then use my Arcwing and blow up the cruise ship by shooting its hull. Shooting its hull. Not shooting its other engine, shooting its hull. At that point, okay, that makes sense. Because then shooting the first 2 engines serves a purpose. But what has happened in all of the cruise ships that Brozime shot in this video was completely redundant by the fact that he shot that cruise ship with the engines. And he's using a ship that is really, really tanky, so his forward artillery playstyle, which is perfectly fine by the way, his forward artillery playstyle is to be real damn close to those cruise ships. So that's why Kazumi, I would say that shooting it may have a disadvantage. I don't know what you mean. So I've lost my train of thought. Bottom line is, he has the cruise ships nice and close, like a lot of people want me to do when I'm playing with other people in the Vale. So, him not being able to hit the engines from a distance is no longer, like, the excuse. So I don't understand at all what advantage did he get from shooting those 2 engines in the first place before he blows up the cruise ship with an overkill shot anyway with the forward artillery against an engine. That doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, that's about it. Let's move on.